Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I will be talking about communication and I will be exploring different topics under communication as it relates to social work. So without further ado, let us go right into the video. I will start off by talking about nonverbal communication, and so I will provide a definition. It is the transfer of information through the use of body language, including eye contact, facial expressions, gestures, and more. In a nutshell, it is basically communication without the use of words. And the two that I chose to talk about were body positioning and the dress and appearance. For body positioning, the position of one's body conveys various attitudes and intentions, and so it is best that the social worker face the client at a 90 degrees angle, since it suggests both safety and openness. Facing the client directly may suggest aggressiveness, and a desk separating the client and the worker prevents openness and closeness and gives the impression that the worker is in a superior position. As for dress and appearance are important non-verbal form of communication whereby the worker must give special attention to his or her own clothing and hairstyle. We know that the way that we dress or the way that we do our hair can be a turn off or it can be distractors, and so we ought to be mindful of the way that we clothe ourselves and the way that we do our hair. And one key factor to take into consideration as it relates to dress and appearance is that we dress to match the occasion. So if we are going to a courtroom or we are dressing for a hospital setting or to serve children, we ought to dress to match that occasion. That wraps it up for nonverbal communication, and now we will be diving into the characteristics of the communication process, and the first one being it is continuous, meaning that it has no beginning and no end. We can think of continuous communication like a river of data and information flowing in a circle. It is always flowing and it provides rapid feedback. The second is that it is a two-way process, meaning that in the communication process, at least two persons must be involved, whereby there have to be a sender and there have to be a receiver. And so that is why it is referred to as a two-way process. The third is that it is very interactive, and the fourth is that it is dynamic, meaning that it goes way beyond the words that we say. It is the ability to share thoughts and experiences in a meaningful way while taking in, processing, and responding to the person that you are talking with. That wraps it up for the characteristics of the communication process. And now we will go into the purposes of communication in social work. First, it helps the social worker to gather information needed for the helping endeavor. It allows them to explore ideas, feelings, and ways to meet the needs of the client. It expresses feelings or thoughts of emotions, and it provides support, information, and directives. Moving on to the barriers related to social work communication. One, double messages, and this is where two contradictory messages are received simultaneously. Secondly, ambiguous messages, and these are messages that have little meaning or several possible messages for the receiver, or in other words, messages that are not clear. 3. Referent confusion, and these are the words that have different meanings to each person, or they may be professional jargons not understood by the other person involved in the communication process. 4. selective attention and interpretation. This causes distortion of messages or confusion as to the meaning, and interpretations are based on perceptions. Other general barriers to communication include physical environment, attitudinal barriers, psychological factors, different language and culture, individual linguistic ability, physiological barriers, and poor listening skills. And now we will go into the last topic for today under communication in social work, and that is ensuring effective communication. And that is what we strive to do at the end of the day. We want to ensure that our communication is effective and that the person on the receiving end understands fully what we are trying to say. And so the first one under ensuring effective communication is verbal and non-verbal message must be congruent, meaning that it must be in agreement and in harmony. Secondly, message should be simple, specific, and intelligible to the receiver. We don't want to confuse them. We want to ensure that our messages are specific and not over the place. And we want to ensure that it is intelligible in the sense that it makes sense to the receiver. And lastly, repetition of message leads to greater attention on the part of the receiver. Repetition means repeating a message, so you might transmit a message the first time around and it was not clear on the end of the receiver, and so it would be helpful to just restate whatever you said or retype if you are texting. That wraps it up for communication in social work. Remember that practice becomes perfect and that you can do exceedingly amazing in whatever profession that you choose to pursue. Tune in again for other amazing content in social work.